Hello and welcome to the Baker Senior Show. Today we're talking about something very important, the annual enrollment period, also known as AEP. Hey, Steve,
Hey, how are you doing this today?
I
I'm
am
doing
doing
great.
fantastic. Yes, and I'm glad you are too. And I
Great.
know today is a very important topic for people that are on Medicare. They have something called the AEP. Can you explain that to us?
Well, this is the time of year where if you're watching TV, and it doesn't matter what kind of program you're watching, whether it's a soap opera or a football game or whatever, or everything in between, uh, it's all things Medicare. The airwaves are just filled with Medicare, 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 and then they talk about AEP, zero premium, free this, free that, free,
Oh,
free,
lots of
free.
free words. Big, big,
Yes,
free, and get this free, get that free, no cost.
right, right, right.
I see it.
And that's it. So what I'm going to talk about today are just some things that are really reality, and mostly our discussion today is geared to people who are already on Medicare, who've had it for a couple of 3 years, or maybe just less than a year or whatever, but just some things that people need to be made aware of. So we're going to talk about you know things that just people overlook when when the stuff comes on the screen. There's a lot of stuff behind the scene there that people don't really realize,
You
and
know,
they're
I
just
think that's important to be talking about for just about anything that you buy. Who's selling it to you, and what are they leaving out?
right.
Um,
Yeah.
now, as if, for any of those people who have watched us, Steve and I, on this show, um, you know that I'm really into thinking about getting into a camper and driving around. And so we've been talking about, what am I insured when I become eligible for Medicare and things like that. And I've just been noticing that the people that are selling motorhomes will tell you
Mhm.
all the benefits and all the great things about being on the road. But what they
Mhm.
don't tell you is what you really need to pay attention to.
Mhm.
So, Steve, you're going to explain to us a little bit more about what we need to be looking for when you're choosing to change your Medicare benefits,
Right.
correct?
Mhm. Yes, that, and perhaps after it's all said and done, and you do what we're going to talk about, maybe you don't want to change. It's just but it's decision time, October 15th through December 7th,
Decision
and
time.
and the important thing that I want to get across is that this is a period of time not to be ignored, and there's
Okay.
some things that you really do need to be made aware of.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go through 5 or 6 points here and just mention some things that perhaps if someone's watching, they really do need to pay attention to. Maybe they've been on Medicare for 3 or 4 years or so, and instead of being closer to 65, they're closer to 70. Maybe they're older than 70, but it's an important time to check out some things. And I want to give my hat tip to my good friend Chris Westfall, and he did a broadcast not too long ago about this. And so I just want to, I'm not going to talk about his program totally, but he's Chris is really, really up on all of this stuff. So the first thing that people need to know about is they have a Part D program, especially if they have a Part D, whether they're on Medicare Advantage or they're on traditional Medicare. But if they're on traditional Medicare, they have a what's called we call it a standalone Part D plan, and it's very important. And so many people overlook this; they just let their Part D plan just go on and on and on, and they never delve into what it is and so forth. And uh, amazingly, the Part D plans change each year. especially the standalone Part D plans. So it's a really good idea to check, and this is the only time you can do it during this AEP period. Check your Part D plans for any kind of changes that's gone on, and maybe it's gone up a lot. Maybe instead of the premiums being $25 or $30, it's like $75 or $80. All of a sudden, boom. And if you're not paying attention, then after the first of the year, you go, whoa, whoa, how did that happen? Well, I got news. It's too late to really investigate and change it. So investigate your Part D plans. Now, also, if you happen to be on the Advantage side, you can also check your Advantage plan. Now, as we've talked about before, most of the Advantage plans, 90% of them, have a Part D plan embedded in it. So it's opposite from standalone. It's inside the Medicare Advantage program. So that's even more the reason to check your program to see if possibly you would like to change, and you watch TV and so forth. My
Oh,
recommendation is
Steve, I
go
have a
ahead.
question about that. All
Okay.
right, so let's say you're on Advantage and
Mhm.
you want to check your Part D, but it's
Mhm.
part of another program. Do you have to change the whole program, or can you just change the Part D inside the Advantage plan program that you're on?
No, you're probably going to need to change the whole program. You need to
Ah,
look at the whole thing.
okay. So
So
it's in a capsule. So you
right.
choose this one, and this is Part D of that. Okay, I
Mhm.
got it. Okay.
Now, if you're on the supplement side, like then they call it Medigap as well. If you're on that side, you can't. It's standalone. Remember the term standalone? It's basically by itself. So you can just pay attention to the Part D plan by itself and see if you want to adjust that during this period of time only. So it's very important to pay attention to that. And also, you need to check your network of hospitals in your plan, your network of doctors, especially in an Advantage plan. Medicare Advantage usually breaks down into a couple of three categories. One would be an HMO if you're in just a regular HMO. Another one would be a PPO. But either way, it's a good idea to investigate your present plan, make some phone calls. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that you call the people on the screen or on your TV, but check with the person who sold it to you. Go to some meetings that they might have at senior centers, and also you can check. A lot of times during this period of time, there will be people in Walmart. There will be people at Kroger, HEB. I'll have little stands there. Ask the manager of the store if there's somebody there that they could talk with about Medicare, and that's an excellent source because that person can help you investigate your plan and see if there's a better choice for you. And you've got some weeks now. You've got, I guess, they say originally 7 weeks or so to do this. We've had probably about 6 weeks left, so you've got some time. Anytime, and a good way to remember that is just anytime in the month of November. That's the solid month that you have.
Right,
So
because it started October 15th
right,
and it ends on December 7th. So you're right, the whole month of November is a good month to put it on your calendar. If I were you, though, I would be calling Steve now. I wouldn't wait till November. I would call now. Uh, we're getting closer and closer and closer time this year to, an election that is really important for a lot of people. Uh, Americans in general.
right,
And we're
exactly,
just going to get busier and busier. So don't put it off to the last minute. If I were you, I'd call Steve as soon as possible.
right. Sure.
like right
I'll
now?
be, I'll be, I'll be glad to, talk with, with almost anyone. Well,
Yeah.
anyone basically that has to do with
Well,
the Medicare.
I'm only saying this because this is important for me. When I get ready to do something like important, like my car insurance or something that I feel like I have to take care of, getting my car inspected, there's certain times when you have to take care of these things. And then I go searching around for where's the phone number, what am I supposed to do here? And so I'm recommending that you take the phone number down right now, even if you put it on a piece of paper and stick it on a magnet on your refrigerator. Call
Mhm.
Steve as soon as possible. 832-754-3292, and just find out what you need to do to change, or if you need to change. So what Steve does, in my opinion, is very personal service. He's going to ask you the questions that he knows that will make a difference in what plan you choose. So,
Right.
Steve, can you give us an example of somebody that this really helped them? It saved them money, or it saved them time, or helped them get the medical things that they needed?
Well, yes, I've got several clients. My wife being one. She kept after me last AEP last year. When am I going to be able to sit down with my agent and review my drug plan? And I'm going, I'm busy. So finally, she hit me on top of the head and said, "Sit down now. Let's let's check this out." And sure enough, she was able to save a lot of money by moving to another plan. And so, of course, I knew how to do it and so forth. But yeah, that's one right there. And there are others that I've helped people with.
There you
So
go. Your
it's
own life, you know,
yeah,
cobbler's children's shoes. They have holes in them and they don't have any. Yeah, I understand.
right,
Um,
right.
so what is the process if somebody calls you? Let's say they've been on Medicare for 2, 3 years and they're really not sure. They just took whatever the guy on the television said, you know, and they just want to check what's the process. What do? They call you, and then what happens?
Well, they call me, and I've got two or three different sources, and of course, a lot of it depends on which whether they're on traditional Medicare or the Medicare Advantage, and that's two totally different worlds, basically. So on the regular traditional Medicare, I can look up their premiums and see if I could get a better premium for them. If and let me underscore this, if they're healthy and they can pass the health problems. And I've talked about this before a lot. If someone is on traditional Medicare, they if they want to switch, they've got to undergo underwriting. And if they pass that, then there's no issue. If there's some medical issues that have developed over a period of time, then cancer, heart disease, all kinds of various ailments, then they probably can't do anything. They're probably stuck where they are. On the Advantage side, that is not typically that's not an issue. So if someone has an Advantage program, and you have to be real careful though about the Advantage programs because they sometimes change rather dramatically, and perhaps a lot of times not for the best. So uh, someone really needs to help someone delve into that and determine how this year's Medicare, their plan they're on, how this year uh, happens to change a lot. On the traditional side, those plans don't change, and for the traditional Medicare people, they're not geared to this. And this gets a little confusing too. They're not tied to this uh, October 15th through December 7th time. They can check anytime during the year and see if there's a better plan for them at a less expensive premium. And I do that pretty much year round for folks. So you just have to know, and be aware, and just don't. As I said, I think a couple of episodes ago, I said, don't just set it and forget it. Please don't do that.
Please don't do that.
Right, right,
Please.
right.
So no
Now,
matter who they are, they can call you anytime, right? It's not like
sure,
you're gonna not take their call if it's not the time of year to call, right? You're gonna help them no matter what time they call.
exactly.
Now, Steve, how do you handle it when someone can't get to you? When they call you on the phone and they say, "I really want to talk about Medicare, but I can't get out right now to meet you." What do you do?
Well, nowadays technology is such, that we have various face-to-face things. They call it viral. You can go viral with them, and I happen to use Zoom a lot, so uh, I can get them on a Zoom call, especially if they have a computer that's functioning and online, they have a network and so forth. And I can help them with a Zoom, and they can tell me their situation. I have a set of questions that I can ask them and see where they are.
Do they
And
have to sign anything? Do they have to go somewhere to sign up for their changes
tip,
in Medicare?
yeah, well, the signatures are nowadays, you can do those online too. You can actually have someone signature. One that I like to use a lot, a signature on an application. Uh, I ask them their mother's maiden name. And typically, you know your mother's maiden name, right? Almost nobody else knows that, right?
I
So
guess
I
so.
I know my mother's maiden name, and you don't know it. Nobody knows. None of my friends know it. Nobody knows my mother's maiden name except my brother's maybe. So
Right.
I can give my mother's maiden name, and in a lot of instances, not all of them, but in a lot of instances, that they deem that now as a signature. So and there are a lot of other methods that you can use to get a signature online. So
All right. So there is no excuse for anybody that needs to talk to Steve about Medicare. He can
right,
handle anything. He can handle it online. He can even get your signature online. And if you need help with your trying to figure out Zoom, how to get on Zoom, that's a software that you can
hmm
put, and you don't have to download anything. You can just get online, and Steve can give you a link, and you just click on that link. You could send them an email, or you could tell them on the phone, and that way they can see each other just like you and I are seeing each other, and Steve
right,
can go over your whole plan. Not only can he go over your plan, but you may have family members that also have the same issue. They need to talk to someone about their annual enrollment period. So
hmm
think about that now. It could be your spouse, it could be your mother or father, it could be someone, a sibling, and then you could both sit down and talk to Steve, and he would go over the plans for both of you. I think that would be a great idea, is to do two or three people at a time. Just
exactly.
get it over with, you know?
Yeah, just get it over with. Right,
Yeah.
right, right,
It's not as bad as going to the dentist, let's face
hmm
it.
right, right. And a lot of times it's good for people to have their children involved in the discussion, because ultimately, as we get older, things go wrong, and we got to go to this doctor and that doctor, and all of a sudden somebody has to go to the hospital. And if perhaps in an emergency situation, uh, the person at the desk says, "Well, let me see your insurance," and the children will go, "Well, I don't know. Do you know?" Doctor, I mean, it's really very important that the children are kept up to date about what the parents have as far as medical insurance. Because in an emergency situation, you really don't have a lot of time. So, you know, no question about that.
That's true. So, Steve, let's talk a little bit about that because you never know. Life happens, and you may be in a situation where you have to go to the hospital or the doctor. Is that the time to call you?
No, no, that's not the time to call me at all. Usually, on the Advantage side, you have one card, just one simple card, and the children need to know where that card is so that they can get to it, so that they can when you go to the hospital or even to the doctor, you need to be able to hand that card over to the person making the initial admission into the either to the doctor's office or emergency room perhaps or to the hospital. So everybody needs to know where that card is, and it needs to be in a place that somebody can get to it in short order. So that's very important. It's just the children need to be made aware of the situation, and I run across this a lot where children are not aware. That's that's not important. I mean, that is very important. I meant to say.
It is very important, and I do recommend that everyone have a box or a place where everybody knows that's where my important papers are. If anything were to happen to me, nobody really wants to think about that. If something were to happen to me, you can find all my instructions here. Like we have pets, and we may have documents that need to be shown to people, and Medicare is one of them. So,
Mhm.
Steve, what if you wanted to make a copy of your Medicare card? Would that be acceptable when you go to the hospital?
Make a copy of it. Uh,
Yeah, if you just made
yeah,
a copy of it and put it in a box and say, "Okay, children, you know, that's not
yeah,
my original card, but it is my number and everything, and you can
you
use
could do
that."
that. You can do
Okay,
that. Yeah.
all right.
Yeah. And also, if you're on a supplement, if you're using a supplement, there that would be in that case there would be two cards. It would be your Medicare card and then a supplement along with that. And then
Do
usually
you
there's a third.
mind? Go ahead.
No, no, go ahead.
Go ahead, Steve.
Okay, all right.
Oh, okay.
And,
Do
and
you mind explaining to us what a supplement is?
yes, the supplement is if you're on the traditional Medicare, and you don't have to have. There's no law saying that you have to have a supplement card, but traditional Medicare will pay 80% of whatever the hospital bill is, the doctor's bill is whatever it is, the surgical bill. Whenever you have to have a procedure done, it will pay 80%. Some of those can be quite expensive. For example, uh, in the case of cancer, you've got chemo. The chemo is very, very expensive a lot. Radiation is very expensive. So 80% of $10,000 is 8,000. So that means you owe 2,000 for each procedure, for each time you take chemo, or each time you go have something done. That's a lot of money you've got to pull out of your pocket. The supplement pays the remainder, pays the 20%. So
Okay,
you
okay, all right. And how do you get a supplement?
get a supplement when you sign up for Medicare, and you meet with someone like me, and I can sign you up for a good supplement plan, and I can explain how those work and so forth.
And
And
does that include the Part D for your prescriptions?
that is separate, as we talked about earlier. That is a separate. You have a separate Part D plan. So as I mentioned earlier, you can take that Part D, during this period of time though, and you can actually take that and shop around to see which of the plans would be better for you. So I can also help people do that.
Okay, so you
But you
have
can
your
change that.
traditional Medicare, then you have a supplement, and then you have another one just for prescriptions.
Correct.
So you need 3 cards.
You need 3 cards there. Here's what happens when you start using your Part D plan. The pharmacist will put it in the computer. Will put the plan in the computer, so that when you renew your prescriptions, you don't need to show it. It's already in the computer. So mostly that one is not so important because it's there. However, if you do change the prescription plans, you do need to take it to the pharmacist and say, I have a new one, put this in, and so forth. But a lot of people have forgotten, that they way back there that they did tell their pharmacist that they have a Part D plan, and it's in their computer when they figure your drug plan cost or your drug cost. So one thing that people need to be made aware of is that this time of year, at the open enrollment period, uh, we don't. Congress kind of lags behind a lot of things, and they kind of weave this stuff in, and they always, invariably they wait to the last minute to set the the premiums for traditional Medicare for the following year. So far as we're speaking right now, they have not set the premiums for the year 2021. That doesn't happen until around November 10th, or somewhere around November 8th or November 10th. So I don't even know what they are at this as we speak right now. Soon we will have those. That's for your Part B, your annual deductible, your Part B annual deductible, and usually it's not really a lot. It's less than $200 in most cases. In all
And that's
cases,
due in January of 2021?
yes. Only when you use Medicare though. Only
Oh,
when
so
you
you,
use
so
Med.
you don't have to just pay it the 1st of
No,
January. You
no,
wait till
no.
you need it.
You wait till you need it.
What if you don't need it all year?
Then you don't. It's like an automobile insurance. Automobile. You have a deductible on your car, right? On your insurance that you got to pay if you have a wreck or something. If you never have a wreck, you don't pay the deductible because there's nothing it's the same thing. So I have a lot of clients that don't use it through the year. That's fine. I mean, well, it's not fine. They need to go to the doctor and have an annual checkup or something. They need to have something that will where the deductible will be used. So that's
Oh,
one, and the
okay.
other is the Part D premium. I'm sorry, did I say D? I meant B. Part B premium. A lot of times, that's the one that kind of runs in neutral because people don't know because a lot of, in fact, almost all of them, that Part B premium will be deducted from the Social Security check, and you don't really realize that you're paying it, but you do pay it, and it does go up almost every year. So you do need to be made aware of the Part B annual deductible and the Part B monthly premium that's taken out of your Social Security check.
Okay.
So
We've
that's
covered a lot of information today. I hope that you have gotten some answers to the questions that you have, but if you haven't, I highly recommend that you call Steve just to make sure that you have everything in place for the 2021 year coming up. So, Steve, is there any last word you have for the audience today about the annual enrollment period?
nothing other than just pay attention. and every 12 minutes your TV is going to remind you. But but I would recommend that you not call an 800 number, because when you do, you're going to be hooked into something that you probably somebody's going to lead you in a direction
Somebody's
that,
going to talk you into something. Yeah.
exactly right. So
Yeah. All right.
so
Well,
I would have a relationship with an agent, such as myself or somebody else, that
yeah,
that you can call on a regular basis and ask questions through the
there
year,
you go.
because
Perfect.
things will come up. So it's good to have an agent. Like it's good to have a lawyer or a doctor or somebody that you can go to,
Somebody you
but
trust. That's
somebody you
right.
trust. Exactly right.
Yes. Well, we're here every
So
Tuesday at 8 o'clock Central Time, and you're more than welcome to ask questions now, or we're live, so you can ask the questions, live during the show if you'd like. But be sure and call Steve at 832-754-3292 to get the answers to all your Medicare questions. Thank you. This has been the Baker Senior Show, Healthcare Peace of Mind. Thank you, Steve.
bye.
See you next week or before.